I had a problem. One moon mould and about a dozen ideas, and an ADHD brain that refused to choose. So instead of making one design, I decided to make 3. So let's see whether that's a brilliant idea or one I'm going to regret later. Now this week I had the pleasure of meeting Tracy from Mini Scenes GB Craft, and she kindly gifted this mould to me. And once I'd finally settled on my first design, it was time to raid my ever-growing stash of chrome powders and chameleon pigments. I'm not saying I have a pigment addiction, but I definitely wasn't short of options. So after a lot of umming and ahhing, I finally narrowed it down to a few of my favourites. I wanted this moon to change colour as the light hit it, rather than just looking purple all the time. But of course, this wasn't quite as straightforward as I'd hoped, because the mould doesn't turn inside out. I couldn't just rub the chrome powder straight into the stars, so instead I had to use this ridiculously long brush to carefully work into every tiny detail. So once the stars were finished, I carried on burnishing chrome and interference powders around the rest of the mould to create this magical colour shifting effect. But trust me, trying to get a straight brush around these little corners is a bit like trying to park a bus in a bicycle shed. And I had absolutely no chance of getting this perfect. Hopefully this isn't going to come out patchy. So hi, I'm Tony from Georgiesgorgeousgifts, and welcome to my little corner of crafting chaos, where the results are usually as much of a surprise to me as they are to you. So let's get pouring. Now for this first layer, I've mixed up some J. High Gloss Resin, and I've added some of this gorgeous 80 micron Super Sparkle White. This is one of those glitters that doesn't just sparkle, it almost disappears into the resin. And when the light catches it, it gives this beautiful diamond dust effect. Trust me when I say that the camera really doesn't do this justice, but in person, it gives the resin a gorgeous shimmer without taking away that lovely crystal clear look. Now I'm filling the mould right the way up to the base of the candle holder because I want all that super sparkle suspended throughout the moon once it's finished. And as usual, I'd mixed up a little more resin than I actually needed, so rather than let it go to waste, I reached for this little waffle bowl mould. So after pouring a layer of the clear, I added a few drops of purple pigment to what was left. And after pouring another thin layer, I'm adding a darker purple before pouring the rest into the mould. Rather than mixing this all together completely, I'm just giving it a little gentle push with my mixing stick. Sometimes less really is more, and I wanted the colours to blend naturally instead of ended up as one solid shade. I will admit though, I am pushing my luck a little using normal resin at this depth, so fingers crossed it behaves itself and doesn't flash cure on me. Then it was time to leave these to fully cure. So the following day, once everything had cured, it was time for the second and final layer. So I've mixed up another batch of the J. High Gloss Resin, and this time I was going for a much more textured look. So using some crushed glass, purple to green shift mylar flakes, and these lovely translucent purple beads. And I started by picking out some of the larger pieces of the crushed glass before adding the rest into the mould. And then adding some purple stones in, just to try and build up that decorative base. Now this next bit didn't quite go to plan. I thought a few drops of the glow-in-the-dark pigment would give this a really subtle magical glow. Instead, it turned the resin much milkier than I'd expected. Not exactly what I had in mind, but I suppose that's all part of experimenting. So I carried on by adding the purple to green mylar flakes into the mould and mixing a little into the resin as well. And once I was happy with how everything looked, I'm topping the mould all the way to the top. Now this time I poured a little extra resin on purpose, just so I could finish this waffle bowl, and after adding a few of the purple beads for extra detail, I spent a couple of minutes coaxing out any trapped air bubbles. It's amazing how many like to hide between those little decorative pieces. But of course there was still just enough resin left for one final mould. I didn't quite have enough to fill it completely, so instead of mixing another batch, I'm bulking it out with some crushed glass and purple stones. A quick little tip, if you're ever short on resin, fillers like these work brilliantly. And this managed to fill it all the way to the top. So up until this point I thought I was being really tidy, then disaster. As I was putting the beads away, they spilled all over my kitchen side. Typical. But on the bright side, I was absolutely buzzing to discover that this mould fits perfectly into the corner of my G3 curing machine, because we know that patience isn't one of my strong points. And now for the moment of truth. First up was the little waffle bowl, and once demoulded, I'm just flipping the mould back into shape before it damages it. This is the first time I've poured this bowl, but I actually really love how it's turned out. I wasn't expecting this, but the shape of the mould has created these beautiful little petal shapes all the way around the edge. Definitely too pretty to have started life with leftover resin. And now for the first moon. I'm really pleased with the way that this one has come out. The crushed glass has disappeared exactly as I'd expected, leaving the little purple beads looking like they're floating inside, although these have become a little transparent as well. The chrome powder hasn't quite reached every little detail, but after trying to get that ridiculously long brush around those corners, I was half expecting that. But even this little rose come out beautiful. Not bad for something that would have otherwise gone in the bin. Right, now let's see if design number 2 works any better. This time I wanted a completely different look, so I reached for my Resinrete instead of resin. And for once I'm measuring everything out nice and accurately. So after measuring 200 grams of powder and 60 grams of water, I'm giving this a really good mix, making sure that there's no sneaky little lumps hiding in there. Then it was time to pour. So whenever I'm making a deep mould like this, I always like to fill the mould about halfway first. I then give it a really good squeeze to get into all those gaps and grooves. You'd really be surprised how many air bubbles you can persuade to come out that way. So everything was going brilliant, until I'd realised I'd mixed too little again. Honestly, you'd think I'd have learnt by now. But rather than waste another big batch, I used one of my favourite little tricks and added in some cured eco casting pieces just to bring that level up a bit. But I was still a little bit short, so I quickly mixed up a little by eye and topped it right up to the top and hoped for the best. Eventually, after pouring this little bit, I had enough to fill the mould, so it was time to leave it for about 6 hours. With this shape, I'd much rather wait than risk snapping off the end when demoulding. So this was about 7 hours later, and I thought I was recording the demould, but apparently not. But thankfully, it come out really easily. But it also gave me the idea to do a video on how to strengthen resin and eco pour pieces. Now come the part I've been putting off, the dry brushing. So I've picked out some of these gorgeous Artfly iridescent paints because I want these colours to shift as the light hits them. This was my little practice piece though, and as you can see, it didn't exactly fill me with confidence. The trick with dry brushing is taking almost all of the paint back off the brush before it even touches your project. It's slow, it's fiddly, and if I'm honest, I get bored way too quickly. So I'll let the music take over while I get on with the dry brushing. Fingers crossed it's going to turn out alright.
New month, new page, same old table. Glue on our hands and a wild new label. You bring the spark, I bring the thread. Mess on the floor and a plan in my head. Turns into 10. Crafting together, we make it.
So once everything was dry, I added some blue around the edges of the stars and the bottom of the hat, blending it in where I wanted all the shadows to fall. So far, it wasn't looking too bad. But I'd originally planned to dry brush this Amsterdam pearlescent blue into the raised edges, but it was so subtle you could hardly see it, so I brushed over the entire beard instead. I'll be honest, by this point I was absolutely fed up with painting, and I was definitely ready to move on to the next design. And after looking at it, I gave the stonework a bit more depth by dry brushing a little bit of grey acrylic before finishing it with some purple to blue pearlescent paint. After the painting was complete, this is the point where I start completely winging it because Rub and Buff and I don't exactly have the best relationship. It usually ends up more on me than it does on the project, so I'm using the tiniest amount on my finger to catch the stars and the raised details. The difficult bit is remembering that less is more, so fingers crossed. Now that brings us on to design number 3, the Woodland version. So back to my trusty J. resin and into the Resiner's Jewel mixer it went. This time I'm adding 5 or 6 drops of transparent green dye. I want just enough colour to give that woodland feel without hiding everything inside. And as always, I pour a little bit into the mould first and give it a squeeze to make sure that the resin has reached all those little details before topping it up. Now this is ivy from my garden and I've dried it and cut it into smaller pieces and I'm arranging it inside this mould. Once I was happy with how it looked, I'm filling it to just below the candle holder before switching to clear resin. That way, the second layer is going to stay nice and clear instead of disappearing into the green. After that, it went into my G3 for about 30 minutes until it reached that nice sticky stage. Then it was time to start building the woodland scene with the mushrooms and the moss. Now I've bought a few different types of moss over the years, but this one, well, looks more like cotton than it does moss. While this second one looks much more like natural moss. The only problem is it's so old it started to disintegrate. So I decided to use a mixture of both of these colours. So I'm picking out the bits that I thought I'd need. The plan was simple. Snip the mushroom stems shorter and push them into the sticky resin. The reality? They all wanted to float. Sometimes resin just has other ideas. Eventually I got everything more or less where I wanted it, and I've started adding different shades of moss around the base, partly to create the woodland floor and partly in the hope that it would weigh these mushrooms down. Before filling it any further though, I wanted to try some fairy lights. One tip, always try them first. Although getting into this packaging required a degree in engineering. Once I'd finally got them out the box and figured out how to unravel them, I took them into the top of the mould. I actually bought these because they've got a nice flat battery pack, which is much easier to hide underneath than the chunky ones I normally use. Then I left everything to cure for a little longer before adding the final layer. About an hour later, I mixed up another batch of resin. Before topping the mould up, I'm adding a tiny pinch of this silver sparkle glitter, just to give it that subtle shimmer. Links to all the products I'm using is in the description below as always. I poured this in slowly, letting it work its way down through all the moss before adding any more, making sure that the fairy lights were completely covered by the resin. Once it was full, all that was left was to leave it to fully cure. Then it was time for the fun bit, the demold. And thankfully, this one didn't put up much of a fight coming out of the mould, but I'm really glad that I switched to the clear resin with the glitter for that second layer, because you can still see all that moss, ivy and mushrooms tucked away inside. I think it really captures that enchanted woodland feel, and once the fairy lights are switched on, it brings the whole piece to life. Now to finish this piece off, I'm adding a layer of UV resin to the bottom, just to give it a flat base so that we can rest the battery pack on it and it'll sit nicely. And because you can still access these batteries by these screws, I'm just fixing this to the base. So there we have it, 3 completely different designs, all from exactly the same mould, from a glowing crystal inspired moon to an enchanted woodland scene, and finally the rustic eco-pour finish. Turns out my ADHD brain refusing to choose wasn't such a bad idea after all. The eco-pour one definitely isn't my strongest piece, and I think my dry brushing needs some work. Let me know in the comments if you have a favourite. If you're enjoying these videos and want to help support my channel a little further, you'll find my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links in the description below. All that's left is for me to leave you with some glamour pictures. I've been Tony from Georgie's Gorgeous Gifts. Stay safe, happy crafting, and bye for now.
Subscribe, give it a try. Georgie's Gifts will light your day. Hit that bell, don't drift away. Wraps and bows and colors wild.